Hi, I'm Darcy.
And I'm Kelly. And thanks for joining us for
And Another Thing,
where we talk about current events,
pop culture,
things we love,
things we don't,
all slathered in gobs of laughter,
and all the feels.
So grab a drink, sit back, and join us for
And Another Thing. We are women. Hear us roar.
And those of you listening, we're hearing you or you're hearing us.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know what's happening anymore.
So I'm excited about this show. We both are excited about this show. We realized we're taking we missed International Women's Day. We posted on our Facebook page, but we realized it's Women's History Month. So
yes.
We are going to dedicate a show to things we know really well, women.
Because we are women.
And people who present as women. And
yes.
Just, womanhood.
Womanhood, yes, sisterhood.
Exactly. So we're going to share some facts and some interesting things. We'd love to know any of your favorites, like heroes, books you've read. We just want to celebrate women.
Yes.
You want to start?
Sure.
Okay.
So I, being a musician and singer, I decided to look for female musicians in history that maybe nobody knows about or don't get enough love if you do know about them.
That's a lot.
So, yeah, so many. I'm going to go actually chronologically, and I have my notes here. That's why I'm leaning forward. So let's start with this. Cassia, Kassia, I guess, of Constantinople.
Istanbul was Constantinople, Istanbul. Okay.
I knew it.
No one's business but the Turks.
Shh. Okay. So I guess there's a little debate about this, but Cassia, who was born around 805, after the year of our Lord, is often called the first female composer of the Occident, meaning the Western world. She's considered the first, female composer. And her place in Byzantine folklore was sealed even before we knew of her music. She was from a wealthy family, and she dissed the Emperor Theophilos at a bride show.
Oh, like he was going to pick her or something?
I guess so. I guess maybe they paraded potential ladies in front of...
Like Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, too. Yeah, something like that. Back in the olden
right, now they it's like, get their pie or something. I don't even know what they do.
Get their pie. That sounds dirty.
It does.
Anyway, so I guess she dissed this emperor after he used the story of Eve from the book of Genesis to suggest that women were responsible for much evil.
Oh, no, he didn't.
Oh, he did. But here's the thing. She was not just some little dismissive. She was a feminist, I'll tell you
nice.
what.
In 805.
In 805. And she said, and through a woman came forth the better things, she replied, annoyed. So she didn't get to marry the emperor. He married some chick named Theodora, who became the empress. And then Cassia decided to adopt the monastic life. She became basically what would be a nun back in the day. And that's when she started writing music. And about 50 of her magical hymns have survived.
Wow.
Although some authorship of some of them has been debated. As well, what also survived is hundreds of her non-liturgical verses. And this is my favorite thing. Including this zinging epigram. I hate the rich man moaning as if he were poor.
Ooh! Gosh, she was ahead of her time.
Way ahead of her time.
I love that.
So cheers to Cassia of Constantinople, who is debatably the very first female composer that we are aware of.
She was like an ancient Adele, because Adele, as soon as she broke up with her first husband, boyfriend, long-term, she went and got like 12 Grammys, so good for her. She got men out of her life and wrote music. Good for you, Cassia.
And thank you for all of us who have, you paved the total true way for all the rest of us.
Oh, I thought you meant for being a monostatic and not having sex, but you meant for music.
Well, we're not getting that personal in this show. That's
save it. So I have some things that were invented by women that you may not know about.
Oh, fun.
The car heater.
Shut the front door.
Yeah.
Shut the car door.
That's right. It was invented in 1893 by Margaret Wilcox, so pretty early into cars.
Wow.
And I'm sure she.
I think they still did churn crank them, I think, back then.
Yeah, and who knows? It could have been like I don't know. It could have been like a wood burning stove in there. I don't know what it was.
True. Somebody sits in the back seat and
so
shovels
she's probably like, it's a little cold in here. I got my coat on, it's bulky. So yeah. And then we do one other one, and then you.
Sure.
Okay, so this is a good one. Monopoly. The game Monopoly was invented by Elizabeth Maggie in 1904.
Oh.
She originally called it the landlord's game, and it was satirical against big property owners, which, I mean, it still is, but,
Yeah.
you know. It was completely ripped off and stolen by a man named Charles Darrow,
Of course it was.
and he sold it to Parker Brothers.
Of course he did.
Yes. So finally, after 20 years, Parker Brothers tracked down Elizabeth Maggie and paid her a big whopping $500 for her trouble.
Oh
I know. How many sets of Monopoly have been sold? How many family fights over Monopoly have been
my. Oh
had?
my Lord.
Yeah, she made $500 for that whole thing.
$500. Oh my God. And people still try to say that sexism isn't systemic.
Right, and that's $500 is two railroad fees, right? Or two utilities.
Totally.
It's only
oh
half
my
of pass and go.
That's bless her heart. That is so uncool. And can you imagine her descendants are like, man, we could have been rich.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I know.
Anyway, so some of you probably have heard of Sister Rosetta Tharpe. Born 1915, passed in 1973. Those who think Jimi Hendrix invented the electric guitar superstar needs to check out Sister Rosetta Tharpe. She was already an incredibly popular gospel performer, but apparently she decided to start playing the devil's music and started, the blues. She started playing the blues and just playing. I've seen some footage of her. She was a badass player.
There are still, and wasn't she a big lady too, I think? Or no? Am I thinking of somebody else?
You might be thinking of somebody else, because I think she was, whatever for the time,
We'll try and find a thing and put it on our Facebook page.
Yeah. The thing is, her recordings stand as vital landmarks on the roadmap of modern music. Among her many achievements, this is what kind of grabbed me to talk about this, she kickstarted the career of Richard Penniman, who we all know as Little Richard, who is debatably considered the first androgynous, which a word we don't use anymore, rock star. But clearly, if she was a big influence on him, that would explain his makeup and stuff like that.
That's fantastic. I love that.
I love that. So there's a lot of guitar players who will, bring her up as, oh yeah, I know who that is. You know what I mean?
Just to go back, so is androgynous replaced with non-binary?
I believe it's intersex now. I think that's what it's called.
Okay.
Yes. If you are intersex, please let us know if we're correct on that. I have an intersex friend.
I thought intersex is when you have both genitalia.
I believe it can, androgynous, I think that's what they used to call people with both sets of genitalia.
You know what? We're going to look it up and clarify.
Yeah, we'll look it up and clarify. And I should have done that.
You know that? No,
but it was 1 a.m. when I was pulling this information.
No, I was just curious. I think that's interesting because I'm trying to think if I still use that. I don't know. I think I say non-binary. I don't know, and that could be wrong too.
Well, I believe non-binary is what you identify as regardless of your genitalia.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okie dokie. So, I love this one. In 1882, a woman named Maria Beasley invented the life raft that is on all boats and ships now. Because
the stuff that wasn't enough of on the Titanic, you mean?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Because
not her fault.
She had a couple family members die in a shipwreck.
Oh.
And she's like, there has to be something on board that can help
save people. Oh my God. Can you imagine?
So before they had lifeboats, but this was a raft that you could blow up and stow. Then I'll just do my last one and then you'll close it out with music. Is that cool?
Sure.
While I have my glasses
I've got
on.
a couple more, but
cool.
that's okay.
That's good.
Okay.
So this is kind of a combo between, for those of you who don't know Ada Lovelace, she pretty much is the mother of computing. She was a very, very wealthy woman and gave that all up to study math. And what we know now is she was the first computer programmer. And
ever?
Yes, in 1833. She was doing computations that led to pretty much the first computer. And then Dr. Shirley Jackson, who was the first black woman to receive a PhD at MIT, acronym City, she conducted all the scientific research that gave us fax machines, touch-tone phones, solar cells, and fiber optic cables. So if it was not for those two women, we wouldn't
be doing this show right now.
Exactly. 100% we would not be doing this show right now. And Darcy wouldn't be reading her notes off of the laptop.
Off of my laptop, yes.
And yeah.
That's amazing.
Pretty freaking amazing. Oh, and then one last thing, and then we're going to close out with you, because these are all electronic things. A woman named Marie Van Britten Brown, she patented the system for closed-circuit television for her New York City apartment building. Because police were so slow to respond to calls, she wanted to make sure that they had a recording that when the police finally did respond, that they were secure in knowing that the police could see what exactly happened. Wow. In the 1800s, she was like, oh no, we need to... Amazing. Yeah. Thank you, women.
Thank you, ladies. And it's just so interesting, too, to think, a little off topic, how, there's this, after a certain period of time, there was this huge boom in technology, and now we can't even keep up.
Right.
And it's just kind of funny to me that all these predecessors did all these things that got us to where we are. But there's the theory that we didn't actually get the technology that these formulas and computations would work for till after Roswell. We should do a show on that.
Yeah, anything's possible.
The theories of that the aliens gave us the tech because it just boomed so fast.
I have to say, there are times when I go through what I call my death spiral at night, when you start thinking about something and you can't stop thinking about something. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And like 3 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm thinking of, oh my gosh, I carry everything around in this little thing, all my music, all my notes, all my everything. Oh my gosh. There are times when it blows me away. There are times when I could sit and think about an airplane and it freaks me out for an hour.
My sister said she used to think about, one day she was looking at a globe. I don't think it was in our house, somebody else's house, because we didn't have a globe. But she was looking at a globe and she saw a fly land on it. And she thought to herself, she's like, what if God is the fly? And then she just went down this mental rabbit hole.
What if the globe is really the earth and I'm an alien holding it in my hand?
Or I'm just on this globe and I'm in somebody's house and
Oh my gosh.
Right?
What if we're on a globe? Oh, that's so meta. But yeah, I do. I think about stuff like that. So anyway, it's a big shock for us we went off topic. But yeah, I want to hear about some more musicians.
Okay, so after Sister Rosetta, we have, and this is news to me. I lived in Nashville for 13 years and I've never heard of this beautiful woman. Her name is Linda Martell, born in 1941, and I believe she's still alive. She makes this list because she's apparently super talented, but she had 2 extraordinary achievements, which were, she was the first commercially successful African-American country star.
Wow.
I've never heard of Linda Martell.
Neither.
Like, to me, I always thought the first black country star, period, was Charlie Pride. But apparently she was first, and she was the first black woman to play the Grand Ole Opry stage.
How come we never hear about this?
I don't know. Especially me living in Nashville, never heard a word of Linda Martell. And I've sung in the Opry.
And there should be like a Linda Martell elementary school in Nashville. There should be,
or like her picture at the Opry, like a been in the Opry, sung in the Opry. I don't recall ever seeing any black woman's face on any wall there.
If anybody knows more about her, why this has happened.
Well, here's part of it: criminally under-recorded. She only released 1 album in 1970. It's called "Color Me Country." And apparently it got great reviews, and fans of country music should definitely check that out, see if they can find it. I don't know if you can find it anymore. I'm sure it's out of print, but maybe. somewhere on the
That's
YouTube.
amazing.
Somebody uploaded
That's
it.
amazing.
Yeah, and I watched a short video of her. She's a beautiful, beautiful woman, and just really sad. She didn't really
I
get
could guess
a
why
shot.
she didn't get her
Well,
shot.
yeah.
Unfortunately, given
We
where
know.
it is in the South, but
Yeah. But the great thing about Nashville right now is that there's a couple. Well, Darius Rucker has done very well for himself, formerly of Hootie and the Blowfish. Is doing good as a country artist.
and there's that new guy who was just on Dancing with the Stars, who's fantastic. Oh, what's his name? He was on the Macy's Day Parade too. He's great. Yeah.
And there's a young woman who I believe her single was called, and I will double check this, and the caption will either confirm or not. I believe, I can't think of her name, but she's a gorgeous young black girl, and I believe she wrote a song called Black Like Me as a country song, which that's pretty freaking, and she seems to be having some success. And so Nashville's opening up, and they also have the brothers, whose name I forget. Oh my God, I'm sorry.
I know why. Well, you can see that
Brothers Osborne, I believe.
Yeah.
And one of them is openly gay, and so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, country's starting to step into this century, and so I'm glad about that.
Good.
And we
I'll
can
get
thank
you the
Linda
name.
Martell for starting that wagon going.
And I will get you the name of the artist I'm thinking about. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We'll post a bunch of stuff on our Facebook
Little
page.
Nas X. He did
Lil Nas X, yeah. Right, yeah.
Although I love his newer stuff. He's getting a lot of radio play right now. That's what I want. I want somebody to love me. It's really good.
Oh,
but listen to the non-G-rated version. Look it up on YouTube. I think it's called I Want, and then parenthetically somebody to love me. It's really good.
Well, I'll check that out. And my last amazing musician lady, and by the way, I had to fight every fiber of my being to bring up Ann Wilson of Heart, who is my favorite rock singer of all time. But this is Laurie Spiegel, who is an electronic music composer. She may become the first human musician ever to be heard by aliens. Obviously, this source doesn't necessarily think they exist. I do. But her piece, Harmonices Mundi, translated to be Harmony of the World, is an adaptation of a 17th century composition by a German mathematician and philosopher named Johannes Kepler, based on the orbits of the planets. It is the first piece of music that appears on the Golden Record, which was placed on the space probe Voyager 1 and 2 by NASA. So if you're not familiar, there's a Golden Record where they put a bunch of music on it in case the aliens find it, and to help them learn about us. And the first piece on the Golden Record is that. I believe there's also, I think the Golden Record might also include some TV stuff, which I believe I Love Lucy is on there. So if the aliens find us, they're going to know about Lucy and Ricky.
Awesome.
So here's, this is a little bit of a longer story, but I was so fascinated by it that I wanted to share it with y'all. She says, quote, I was sitting with some friends in Woodstock, when a telephone call was forwarded to me from somebody who claimed to be from NASA and who wanted to use a piece of my music to contact extraterrestrial life. I said, come on, if you're for real, you better send the request to me through the mail on official NASA letterhead. And although she's not the only musician to appear on the Golden Record, she's probably the only one to also appear on the soundtrack to the Hunger Games, as she did with her 1972 composition Sediment. And blah, 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 blah. She's done all these crazy things. So the thing about people who make electronic music is that they're both left and right brained.
Right, because
it's programming, it's computing, it's super heavy on the math and all that kind of stuff. So she's done all sorts of stuff. Founded the Computer Music Studio at New York University, wrote the algorithmic composition software Music Mouse, which is an intelligent instrument for Mac, Atari, and Amiga in 1984. Wow. So basically she created the way, you remember your Atari game songs.
Yeah.
She created the way that came about, the music on those old Atari PlayStations and for Mac and stuff like that. So she has, really, really pave some ways in pave some roads in lots of ways. For
Thank you to all those fabulous women.
Cheers to the ladies who do all the things while we sit here and day drink and talk to you.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
So we also wanted to talk about the nominee for the Supreme Court.
Yes, Judge Katanji Brown. I believe her hearing starts today. Her hearings start today as you're watching this show, and I really hope they. I can't imagine that they wouldn't
Give her a fair shake.
Approve. That's the word I'm looking for. Approve of her,
Yeah.
because I saw a meme floating around. Now memes have to be vetted, but
Right. No,
she
it's true.
has
It's on the
over. Yeah, totally. if Professor Google says, then it's true. But this meme said she has 8+ years of judging experience on the appellate circuit, which is bipartisan approval.
Right.
You know, which is the step before generally the SCOTUS nomination. And so that alone should give her a little a little leg up there. But she has 8+ years on the jury or the judging circuit, which is, if I'm remembering correctly, more than the last 4 most recent appointees combined.
I believe it. I absolutely believe it. And
That blows my mind, because now there's nothing in the Constitution that says you have to be a judge to be a SCOTUS.
No, you could pick somebody walking down the street.
Yeah, which we don't advise, obviously, but just the fact that our 4 last most recent, and a couple of them have been there for a long dang time, obviously,
Absolutely.
but that she has more experience as a judge than 4 of them.
Yeah, it's really impressive. Look up her qualifications. It's so impressive.
Yeah. Josh Hawley got on her this week. Josh Hawley is the guy who, fist pumped the insurrectionists as he was walking into the Capitol that day.
Jerk.
He said that he was questioning that she had been too soft on sexual predators, and that it was giving crap about the fact that she represented sexual predators. Now, here's the thing. Everyone in this country is entitled to a defense.
A fair trial.
A fair trial
What it is.
and a defense.
Beyond a reasonable doubt. That's
and
there
somebody
for a
who
reason.
goes to bat for you no matter what. So I have no time for this racist bullshit from Josh Hawley, who is a traitor and an insurrectionist
And I'm
encourager.
sorry, why would a woman be too soft on sexual predators? Right. I mean, I know that's a generalization. I know that's a gross generalization. But if anything, I would think that women would be harder.
Well, if she's not a prosecutor, then she's got to take cases of people who maybe they did it, but they're still. This is something I learned when I used to transcribe psychological evaluations for prison inmates. Most of them are for prison inmates on death row.
Yeah.
And listening to these people's stories where literally every adult in their life just dropped the ball or did not give a crap.
People abuse.
It's like some of these people never had a chance. And so at the least we can do is make sure they get a fair shot in court. And that was her job, to make sure.
Well, and the other thing, yes, I agree with you, and I don't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay.
Completely agree with you. And the other thing is...
Ding, ding, ding!
A lot of times it's pled out. Because the victim doesn't want to go through it, or the person agrees to a lesser charge and will go on the sexual offenders registry or whatever. We don't know.
Yeah. It's like, we don't know the details of every case. And so for him to say...
Well, his words have no weight to me.
An attorney who represents criminals doesn't deserve to be on SCOTUS. First of all, I believe she'd be the first... not a prosecuting attorney, because that's the one who prosecutes criminals. What's the other one called?
Defense,
right? Defending attorney, whatever. She'd be the first defense attorney on SCOTUS ever in history, I believe I read. So I think that's very interesting, because she is she has spent her life defending people who, quite possibly, considering how many people of color we have incarcerated and maybe shouldn't be.
Right.
Or
that's different than what I was going to say. But yes, you're 100%
but you're right too.
That
you know what I mean?
People are guilty. I mean, they're. I don't.
They still have rights in this country. They still have rights as human beings. There's a documentary right now about Attica that's Oscar nominated that I really want to watch because if you're not aware, I can't remember the year, but I think it was back in the 70s, the prison inmates of Attica revolted to get basic human rights, to be treated as basic human beings. And that's the thing. It's like, you know what? You have to not forget that every grown man or woman that is in jail for doing something heinous was once a 5-year-old child that experienced trauma or neglect of some kind, because you don't, and people are responsible for their own decisions, absolutely, but some people are born into places and to people for which there are no other options, or they feel like there are no other options, and they're still human beings, and they still deserve to be treated as human beings, no matter how far towards the side of evil they've gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I just, anyway, kind of got off track there. But so we'll be paying attention to Judge Brown's hearings this week and crossing our fingers, because it is time. It is time for a Black woman to sit on the Supreme Court.
Absolutely.
This time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's drink to that.
Yes. Let's. Cheers.
Cheers. We want to hear your stories, your opinions. Who is a woman that you really look up to? Could be your mom. Could be your sister. We want to know.
Yeah.
And give us pictures too.
Doesn't have to be someone famous.
No. We'll make them famous.
Yeah. With all our followers. We'll put it out there.
Also, we are going to start a new segment of our show.
Yes! We're calling it Unsolicited Advice. That name might change. But basically, send us in your questions. It's like Dear Abby, but we're going to, but us. But we're going to be Abby. And so we may give you craptastic advice.
Or it may be the best advice.
It may
but
be.
We really want, you have a problem with someone, you have a neighbor, a noisy neighbor, you have something.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I don't know if you could hear the little kids next door in our studio.
Screaming.
But yes, please send us in, ask unsolicited advice from Darcy and Kelly, and we would love to give it a shout. And you don't have to put your real name.
Right. But tell us where you're from, because we're going to say this is from Joe in
Right. And even if you send it
Cleveland.
to us from your own email address, we'll redact everything.
Yes.
And we'll never even remember to look at it.
True. So email us at andanotherthingtv@yahoo.com. You can also DM us, PM us at our Facebook page if you prefer to do that, and or give us a comment on our Facebook page, which is also Another Thing TV.
Yeah, you could find us or DM us personally, Darcy Monet, Kelly Goodman, Kelly Comedy, wherever. You can find us.
Yes.
Stalk us, find us.
We're easy to stalk. So send us in those questions, and we will put together a show in the future where we're just giving the advice, and it could be awful and it could be great.
Absolutely. Or if it's not one show, we may end our shows with it for a while.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a thing.
We could do that.
I don't know. We're just coming up on the fly. We're coming up with it on the fly.
We're just learning as we go here.
So please, we want to celebrate the women in your lives, in your, what's a favorite book you read? One of the best books I read about a woman that really inspired me was Helen Keller's autobiography.
Oh, wow. I was obsessed with her when I was a kid.
Me too, and that's why I read
obsessed.
it. It was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, you guys. We are so appreciative that you watch and listen.
We are.
And if you want to support us, you are welcome to please like, share, subscribe, write a review if you're listening on iTunes, and tell people how much you love us and share us.
And we've had a couple people reach out to Darcy on Twitter that we, saying that she was right in the dating show. But no, we appreciate you listening, watching, however you consume our content.
Yes. And I love that there's so many ways. Thanks to the women we we just mentioned
That's
today.
right. All of the women. Ada Lovelace, we're talking about you.
Yes.
So in the meantime, stay safe, stay sane.
And healthy and hopeful.
We'll see you, thingies.